Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Mondays with Mike and Joe. Thanks for joining us today for our final Mondays with Mike and Joe of 2022. We're looking forward to talking about the birth center at Providence Newberg. I want to remind everyone that we will have a Q&A session at the end of our program. If you have any questions for our guest speaker or for Mike and Joe, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And again, we will address those questions at the end of our program. Now, I would like to introduce Doug Cain, who is the Executive Director of the Providence Newberg Health Foundation.
So welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Doug Cain. I'm the Executive Director of the Providence Newberg Health Foundation. I want to welcome you to our Mondays with Mike and Joe quarterly program. As the Executive Director of the Foundation, our purpose is connecting people to Providence to advance research, patient care, and wellness. We believe passion is at the heart of giving. Mondays with Mike and Joe is a quarterly virtual series focusing on the role the Providence Newberg Medical Center plays in our community and how caregivers are working to improve health for all who live here. In today's gathering, if you have any questions for Mike and Joe or our guests, down at the bottom of this page, you will see the Q&A feature. Click on that button and you can ask a question. I'm really looking forward to today's presentation, and so let's go ahead and get started. Now I'd like to introduce Mike Donahue, a man who spent over 40 years as news anchor at KOIN 6 in Portland. Mike is also a current board member of the Providence Newberg Health Foundation. We are grateful for his service to Providence and our community. Please welcome Mike Donahue.
Thank you, Doug. I hope everybody can hear me. Well, I'm just excited to be here today to learn more about Providence Newberg's famous birth center. I am joined by my co-host, Joe Yoder. Joe is the CEO of Providence Newberg. Joe, COVID cases are declining, but we're starting the flu season now. How are things at our hospital today?
Hey, it's great to be here with you, Mike. Good to see you again. You know, Providence Newberg, like any other hospital in our state and to that extent, maybe our country, are facing challenges. We have difficulty with staffing. We have difficulty with our ability to discharge patients to a safe location. And so it's tough for us right now. I'm really proud of the work our caregivers do every day, despite those challenges. It's really, truly impressive. But I want to encourage all of our audience members today, please seek out the appropriate level of care for whatever it is you need. Utilize virtual care options. Please utilize primary care options. Check out maybe our Sherwood immediate care if you don't quite think that you need emergency level care. And then, of course, if you do have a medical emergency, our emergency department is here to serve our community. But just please, as much as you possibly can, reserve that space for real emergencies. And lastly, as you mentioned, Mike, please, folks, get your flu shot. The flu has been largely dormant for the last couple of years due to our masking efforts that everybody's been under. But as those are lifted and we are more social, it's great to be back with folks again. We anticipate flu returning to its pre-pandemic level. So please get your flu shot. There's plenty of opportunities for that out there. Okay, with that said, let's get on with our program. I'm excited to welcome our guest today, Bev Martino, nurse manager for the birth center at Providence Newberg. Believe it or not, Bev actually started her healthcare career 25 years ago as a housekeeper in the hospital. During that time, she quickly learned that she was called to nursing, and she signed up for classes to become a CNA. Bev worked as a CNA in a long-term care facility and at the hospital at night, all while putting herself through nursing school and raising 3 children with the support of her husband, which tells you all you need to know about Bev's determination and compassion. Incredible stuff, Bev. Bev came to Providence Newberg, to our birth center actually in the fall of 2008, working night shift while she earned her bachelor's degree in nursing. She earned her master's degree in health administration and moved into the nurse manager role at the birth center in December of 2020. Welcome, Bev.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Bev, that's pretty good climb from hospital housekeeper to nurse manager of the birth birth center. Joe said that you were, or that you felt called to nursing. Tell us a little bit about that calling.
I did. I had, before I started working in a hospital, I really had no intentions of being a nurse. It was the furthest thing from my mind. But then once I did, I started realizing that the patient rooms, when I went in to clean the rooms, I was drawn to them. I wanted to help them, feel better and do anything that I could to help them get there. And realized by watching other nurses and caregivers that that's definitely what I needed to be doing with my life. Absolutely.
But tell us a little bit about the birth center. How many rooms does it have, and what is the birth center like?
Oh, our birth center, I could just toot that little horn all day long. We have 8 beds with the ability to expand to 10. They're all LDRP, which means we do everything in one room. We don't move our patients from labor to postpartum space. They get to stay in the same room their entire time. Each room has its own jacuzzi, even a little hair dryer for after the shower. Just a lot of little extra amenities that you might find in a hotel space, actually.
Those bells that ring at our hospital every time a baby is born have been ringing more frequently lately. How many babies are born, I guess, on an annual basis at our hospital? And has that number changed recently?
That number has definitely jumped. We're expecting about 200 more deliveries this year, roughly, than prior years. We started taking a dive, I think, with the rest of the nation around 2018. We started having fewer births, but we've definitely remedied that. Our community of patients has grown significantly. And so for example, last year we ended our births at 500 for the year, right on the nose. And this year we hit 500 a week and a half ago. So
wow.
we're improving. And consequently,
there's a pandemic baby boom out there, I think.
Yes, absolutely. The same nurse that delivered our 500th baby last year delivered our 500th baby this year. So Taylor Oswald.
Very cool. You mentioned one of these things already, Bev, but I'm going to ask you what makes the birth center stand out from other labor and delivery departments and other hospitals. And I can just tell you already, when my wife gave birth to our kids, as the spouse in the room, when you got to move to the postpartum room, that is mess. You're trying to get up all the bags and trying to get everything together and put it on this cart and wheel it down the hall. So I know we benefit from that here, but what else makes us so special?
Well, I will say everything makes us special. We actually were recognized last year by U.S. News and World Report as for our excellence in the care that we provide our community. So that was a pretty big deal to us. Our nurses train harder and more frequently than any nurses I've ever seen. They're high utilizers in continuing their education. We train with our providers, with our anesthesia team, very multidisciplinary groups, very frequently, simulation events and just extra training so that when we have those emergencies, we can handle them and handle them well. And often patients don't even realize they're in the middle of an emergency until it's over and we tell them.
I know Providence Newberg is always trying to increase our resources so people who live in this community won't have to go elsewhere for care. What resources does the birth clinic offer, say, in comparison to a larger hospital?
We offer actually some of the same support systems that the larger hospitals have, which isn't always, you don't always see that in smaller facilities. We have direct link through our teleresuscitation program to our nurse practitioners at Prov Portland and at St. Vincent Hospital for newborn resuscitation and stabilization. So there's an expert right there on video walking through a resuscitation event for a newborn. We have, I will just say direct links are our major resources. The training that our nurses get, our nurse is resuscitation nurse. They go through extra training every year. both locally and in other areas, to be experts in the field of resuscitating babies. It's something that we started doing in 2015 and actually recognized at an AAP conference a few years back for our efforts in this. We have 11 RN nurses and hopefully growing.
You know, Bev, the last time Mike and I were together talking about the birth center, we were raising money for panda warmers. Can you tell us a little bit more about what a panda warmer it is? And just a big thank you to our generous donors out there who helped bring those to our facility.
Yeah, huge thank you to all of our donors in the community for bringing these to us. They've changed our lives because those old warmers were definitely on their last leg, and they didn't do any of the things that the panda warmers do. These can monitor the baby's oxygen saturation and heart rate. We can keep the baby warm. We can weigh the baby on the warmer, which that was unheard of for us last year. We had to have 4 pieces of equipment just to do the same thing that this one piece of equipment can do. It's very nice.
You mentioned the lactation clinic. I think you brought someone along to help us understand what they're doing.
Yeah, the lactation clinic, they're one of our biggest resources for, seeing patients inpatient and then being able to follow up outpatient as well. And this right here is Corey Campbell. She's one of our lactation consultants. Hi, Corey. Thank you for coming.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Corey, new moms need support after giving birth. We all know that. One support that Providence Newberg offers is that lactation clinic that you help manage, which I understand is the only RN-driven lactation clinic in Yamhill County. Tell us a little about what the clinic does for new moms.
Thank you. Yeah, we are a wonderful support for new moms. We visit moms inpatient. So up in the birth center, we start our care there with them. And prior to discharge, we set up a follow-up appointment for them to come back and visit in our clinic and have a breastfeeding session with us in clinic to continue that support, as well as just supporting families along their journey of breastfeeding. As long as they need our help, we want to help them reach their breastfeeding goals.
Bev, tell us a little bit about who works in the lactation clinic and what are their credentials?
Our clinic is composed of all RNs. They are all internationally certified, board certified lactation consultants. So they have the credential of IBCLC. I used to get those letters all twisted up, but now I can't say it wrong. They're experts in their fields. Many of them have come from our floor, so they know the world of labor and delivery and postpartum care for babies, and can follow them throughout their lactating experience.
Corey, how does a new mom get an appointment? Do they need to have given birth at our birth center? Or can any new mom utilize these services?
Yeah, actually, any new mom can utilize our services. If they haven't delivered at a Providence facility, then they would reach out to our direct patient line, and it's 503-537-1400 in case anyone's watching and needs to call.
Give them that number again. What is it?
Yes, 503-537-1400. And if a patient has delivered with Providence, even there at Newberg, we set up their appointment, prior to discharge. We also have a very good working relationship with the lactation clinics at other Providence facilities. And so sometimes a patient will tell the facility they delivered at that Newberg is closer and they'd like to follow up with us. That's a very easy connection that we get those patients set up. But if other patients deliver at other facilities or a home birth perhaps, or a birthing center, they're able to call our number as well, ask for an appointment, and then we reach out to their providers for an official referral. we've got to follow all the necessary steps, but that's the additional step, is just that a mother's provider or a baby's provider can send that referral, and we can see them in our clinic as well.
Corey, once the patient figures out how to get to you, what does that appointment look like? And how often can our patients come to the lactation clinic?
Yeah, we really want to support everyone with their goals. So the number of visits that a family has just varies on their needs. A typical appointment we schedule for about an hour-long session. It usually starts with kind of at least the last 24-hour history of how things have been going at home with feeding sessions. We always check a baby's weight before and after the feed, which honestly is a really exciting time for mothers to know how much milk they're making and that things are going well. Or do we need to start some interventions and help them continue on their journey more successfully? But we spend time talking about the mother's postpartum recovery, any infant questions that they have. And then, of course, most of the focus is on the feeding time and any feeding questions or feeding plan for moving forward.
Anything else specifically that the lactation clinic provides new moms? Never having been to one, I'm completely empty as far as answers.
Yeah, we just have general supplies for supporting feeds. Sometimes we're teaching moms how to use breast pumps. Sometimes we're distributing breast pumps. We are a distribution center for insurances as well for electric breast pumps. Other feeding tools that are needed depending on the infant needs, we have those feeding tools available in our clinic as well. And so if moms are struggling at home with any reason related to feeding their baby, we want to help them and have those supplies readily available. Or if we don't have a supply, we certainly have resources to help them find the best resource.
Everything they need. Tell us, I guess, Bev, you would be the expert about this, about the Nora Madeline Fund for Infant Loss, Child Loss. How did that fund get started?
That fund got started in 2002, maybe later, by Nora Madeline's parents, actually, due to their loss of their baby Nora.
Bev, how does that fund support families experiencing infant loss, and how does it also support the birth center?
It's actually one of my favorite things that we do in our birth center and for our community, Joe. It's the foundation provides resources, supplies, and community resources to help our grieving families, no matter where they are in their grief, whether it's a loss from 2 months ago or 10 years ago, or however they lost their baby. We can provide those resources. The fund help provides training to our staff. We keep our perinatal loss committee that kind of help Raina manage the walk and the butterfly release that we do, the remembrance ceremony. The remembrance ceremony is in July, and our walk is in October. And these families can register to come to these events. They don't have to pay any money. It builds community. It puts a voice to something that used to be very taboo. People didn't used to really allow people to talk about their loss, and in this way you can honor them and honor their loss, and it's built communities, it's built families, and the nurses, it helps to support the nurses, because the family's loss is our loss too. So when we can see them, when we can come back and see them at the remembrance ceremony or the walk, it heals our heart as well.
It's a great resource at a very difficult time.
Yeah.
I'm sure the fund, or I suspect the fund, qualifies for grants, but is there a way that our community can support that fund?
Absolutely. There's a couple of ways that you can donate. You can donate through Providence, and hopefully we have those websites that we can pop up there, or you can go to noramadeline.org and donate there as well. They also, Nora Madeline has a Facebook page that we invite people to like and share, you can donate through a link in there as well. Caregivers can donate straight from their paychecks if they like.
Well, I think we have some questions from our audience, as Corey and Bev will be happy to answer those. So let me toss it over to Nicole.
Great. Thank you, Mike. We do have a couple of questions. And the first one is, what is the record for the birth center? And I assume they're talking about number of births.
The record number of births, I could probably pull that data, but I think it was almost 700, right, Corey? That was several years ago, and that was after a very long, drawn-out ice and snowstorm about 9 months later.
Yep.
2009, I believe.
Sounds right.
And for comparison, how many do you think you're going to end this year with?
We're anticipating that we'll end this year with 620 births, which we have not typically over the many years. I just looked at this last week. About 450 has been our average for several years. We used to hit around 500, but now we're looking at maybe 650 or give or take.
It's going to keep you guys busy.
Yeah.
The next question was, what is the visitor policy for the birth center? And I'm assuming that we're talking about this because of the changes we've seen due to COVID on visitor restrictions. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, I sure can. I know that, we're taking a pretty reserved approach to kind of climbing out of this COVID business, if you will. But right now we have advanced to the point of allowing 2 visitors at a time. And we are no longer restricting children. The siblings of these babies can come see their baby.
That's great. And then the last question we have is, does Providence Newberg have a NICU?
No, we actually don't have a NICU, but we have some incredibly skilled nurses. Like I said, they go through some pretty intense training over and above to make sure that we can do this right for our babies. We also, like the teleresus, we have them on the line, and we'll transfer those kids to the NICU if needed, but the majority of the time we get to do what we do, and they stay here with their moms.
Great. Those are all the audience questions that I have for today. Bev, Corey, thanks for joining us. Mike, Joe, thank you for hosting as always. And at this time, I'm going to welcome Doug back to close us out for the day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Great to see you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us again today. Thank you, Mike and Joe, and thank you to both Bev and Corey as well. Today is our final Mondays with Mike and Joe for 2022, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Mondays with Mike and Joe in January of 2023. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and there are several opportunities to show your support for those battling cancer. First, the Chehalem Winery and Stoller family estate are donating a portion of their rosé sales to Providence Newberg's Cancer Fund during the month of October. Be sure to stop by the Chehalem Winery's tasting room in downtown Newberg or out to the Stoller family estate to pick up a bottle or two. Next, we invite you to join us at the Human Bean on Friday, October 21st for their annual Coffee for a Cure Day. The Human Bean will be donating all proceeds. That's right, 100% of the proceeds from all sales on Friday, October 21st to the Providence Newberg Cancer Fund. If you would like more information regarding the Providence Newberg Health Foundation and ways you can support our patients in need, visit our website at providencefoundations.org/Newberg. You can also call or email me. On the screen is my contact information. Also, if you have any other questions for Mike and Joe, let me know as well. We will be following up on questions not answered during the program via email. Everyone, thank you for joining us.